What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about who should be the 2024 male fighter of the year. This seems to be like a hot topic in the MMA community right now, and it's really been narrowed down to two guys, Ilia Topuria and Alex Pereira. So I'm going to go through each guy, go through what they accomplished this year, and then later on towards the end, give you my pick for the male fighter of the year. So let's start off with the most recent nominee, and that's Ilia Topuria, who of course knocked out Max Holloway at UFC 308. Crazy moment for him. And earlier this year, he also knocked out Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, that might be arguably the two greatest back-to-back knockouts, I think, in UFC history. I mean, he finished two guys who reigned supreme at the top of the featherweight division for a very long time, and he was able to knock them both out in a year. So honestly, I think that Ilia has a fair claim to be the fighter of the year as anybody. But the guy he's going up against is just as good. I mean, Alex Pereira had a stellar 2024. He knocked out Yuri Prochazka, knocked out Jamal Hill, and most recently just knocked out Khalil Rountree. Two of those fights, he was meant to save the card. I mean, the one against Yuri, of course, it was supposed to be McGregor-Chandler. That fell through, and then he went and stepped in on, I think, 2 weeks' notice and knocked out Yuri Prochazka. Same kind of idea for UFC 300. They were struggling for a main event, didn't know who to get. Alex Pereira accepted the fight with Jamal Hill and knocked him out too. And then his most recent performance against Khalil Rountree. Yeah, Khalil Rountree wasn't the biggest of contenders, wasn't the guy necessarily deserving of the title shot, but when those two got locked into the octagon, it was all action. And Khalil ended up being one of Pereira's toughest fights in the UFC. But Pereira, he was able to persevere, finishing Khalil in the 4th round. So both of these guys have had incredible 2024s, but whose has really been better? I mean, on one side, you got to favor the activity of Alex Pereira and the short notice fights that he took and won. But then on the other side, in Ilia Topuria, he just knocked out arguably the first and second best featherweight of all time in the span of a year. So it's kind of quality versus quantity in this situation. And personally, if I were to pick between the two, I'd probably favor quality much more. I mean, listen, knocking out Volkanovski was one thing. Yeah, Volk was coming off the Islam fight. We saw it happen recently, but nobody was really expecting Ilia to do that anyways, and he did it. But then going and knocking out Max Holloway, a guy who's never been knocked out in his entire career, that speaks volumes. And I think for those reasons, Ilia should be the fighter of the year. Yeah, he wasn't as active as Alex, fair enough, but the level of competition that he beat and how convincingly he did it puts him over the top, in my opinion. Now, this could all change come December if Alex Pereira ends up fighting again, because right now the rumor on the block is that Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev could be a possibility for UFC 310 because Bilal Muhammad just pulled out against Shavkat due to injury. So someone has to step in for that card, and I feel like Alex would be a perfect option for that. I mean, yeah, it's crazy that Alex is going to have to come and save another UFC pay-per-view this year, but I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it's Alex Pereira. I mean, the guy's a beast. He's always ready. And if he were to go out there and beat Magomed Ankalaev, the guy that has been this boogeyman that Pereira has supposedly been ducking this entire time, I think that would be insane. And that would automatically give him the Fighter of the Year award, in my opinion. But that hasn't happened yet, and if it doesn't, I think I have to give it to Ilia Topuria. Honestly, Pereira had an incredible year, do not get me wrong. I mean, what this guy did and what this guy's done in MMA in general in such a short period of time is nothing short of incredible. But what Ilia did was legendary, and he knocked out two guys that you wouldn't expect to have been knocked out, two guys who have been kings at the top of their division for so long, and Ilia went in there and finished them both within the first 3 rounds. So my male fighter of the year for 2024 is going to be Ilia Topuria. I'm excited to see what he does in the future in 2025, what next big fights await him. Looks like the Volk rematch is on the table. Not a big fan of that one, but if it happens, I won't complain. But I think the big one is obviously him going up to lightweight and challenging Islam Makhachev. I think that's the fight that everybody's very interested in at this point. And if he were to go up and beat Islam somehow, I mean, this guy is just in a whole other level and on a whole other wavelength to a lot of these guys. I mean, Topuria Makhachev could easily be one of the biggest fights of the entire year and one of the biggest fights ever, honestly. I mean, this is two guys in the prime of their careers, arguably pound for pound 1 and 2 potentially, and this is just a matchup that I'm so interested to see because Ilia can crack and he has a good grappling game, so it'll be interesting to see if he can match Islam in that department. But yeah, that's for 2025. We'll see if that really happens. But yeah, I'm going to pick Ilia Topuria as my male fighter of the year. So yeah, there you guys have it. Let me know who your fighter of the year is in the comments down below. And also, I mean, nobody's answer is wrong here. I think you can make arguments for both sides. I've just opted to go with Topuria. Thank you all for watching this video. Stay tuned for more videos just like this one. UFC 309 is around the corner. John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler. Great fight atop of that card, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you all for watching once again. I'll see you all in the next one.